Cowboys Nation, stop everything you're doing right now, because what I'm about to tell you is going to completely reshape how you see this Dallas Cowboys roster heading into the season. We are witnessing something special unfold in real time, and if you're not subscribed to this channel yet, you're missing daily breaking news that every true Cowboys fan needs to know. Smash that subscribe button right now, hit the notification bell, and let's get into why the next few weeks could define our entire championship window. All right, let me paint the picture for you, because what's happening in Dallas right now is operating on two completely different levels simultaneously, and both of them matter more than you might realize. On one hand, we've got this wave of hungry, overlooked, undrafted free agents rolling into the star, guys who didn't hear their names called during draft weekend, players who've been doubted their entire careers, and now they're walking into one of the most scrutinized organizations in professional sports with absolutely nothing to lose and everything to prove. That chip on their shoulder energy is dangerous in the best possible way. But here's where it gets even more interesting. While these young wolves are battling for the bottom roster spots, Jerry Jones and the front office still have at least one veteran slot wide open, and there are some seriously intriguing names sitting out there in free agency right now. We're talking about battle-tested veterans, former Pro Bowlers, guys who've started in this league for nearly a decade, and one future Hall of Famer who could bring the kind of leadership and playoff experience this locker room desperately needs. So what we're looking at is a franchise that's simultaneously building for tomorrow while also trying to win today, and that balance is exactly what separates pretenders from contenders in this league. Let's start with the young guns, because this is the part of the offseason that doesn't get enough love from the national media, but absolutely should. Every single year, undrafted free agents come into the NFL with massive question marks hanging over them. If they were good enough, they would have been drafted, right? That's the narrative. But here's the reality. Some of the most impactful players in Cowboys history came in as undrafted guys. Tony Romo wasn't drafted. Miles Austin wasn't drafted. These organizations make their living finding diamonds in the rough. And right now, there are three names you need to lock into your memory, because by the time training camp rolls around, these guys could be making serious noise. First up, let's talk about Michael Trigg, the tight end out of Baylor University. Now, when I say this kid is a physical specimen, I'm not exaggerating. We're talking 6'4", 245 pounds of legitimate athleticism. This isn't some undersized college player trying to bulk up for the NFL. This is a guy who already has the frame and the movement skills to create mismatches at the next level. But here's the part that should really get your attention. Trigg signed for $200,000 guaranteed as an undrafted free agent. Let me repeat that. $200,000 guaranteed. That is one of the highest guarantees given to any undrafted player in this entire class across the league. The Cowboys don't just hand out that kind of money for fun. That tells you the scouting department, the coaching staff, and the front office all see legitimate starter potential down the road. Now, I'm not saying Trigg is going to walk in and be the next Jason Witten from day one. That's not realistic. But what I am saying is that in a tight end room that's still trying to establish a clear hierarchy behind Jake Ferguson, Trigg has a real pathway to earn meaningful snaps. Think about the way Mike McCarthy loves to use multiple tight end sets. Think about how this offense has struggled to find that consistent secondary receiving threat in recent years. Trigg has the size to be a red zone nightmare, the speed to work the seam, and the hands to convert on third down. If he shows up in camp ready to compete, he's absolutely making this coaching staff take notice. Then we've got Jordan Hudson, wide receiver out of SMU, and this story hits different for so many reasons. Hudson isn't just another name on a depth chart. This kid grew up right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He played his college football at SMU, which means he spent the last few years playing in front of family, friends, and hometown fans. He led the entire Mustangs receiving corps last season, led them, and somehow, someway, he still went undrafted. Now, if you go back and look at pre-draft evaluations, multiple analysts had Hudson projected as a late-round pick, somewhere in the 6th or 7th round. So the fact that he slipped through completely and the Cowboys were able to grab him as an undrafted free agent, that's what you call a potential home run signing. The kid chose to stay home, he chose Dallas, and that emotional connection, that hometown pride, that matters when you're fighting for a roster spot, because this isn't just a paycheck for him. This is legacy. This is proving everyone wrong on the biggest stage possible. Now let's be real about the situation. The Cowboys wide receiver room is loaded. You've got CeeDee Lamb as your superstar number one. You've got Brandon Cooks bringing veteran savvy. You've got young guys like Jalen Tolbert trying to carve out roles. So Hudson isn't walking into an easy situation, but here's his golden ticket: special teams. If this kid is willing to fly down on kickoff coverage, if he's willing to block on punt returns, if he's willing to do all the dirty work that coaching staffs fall in love with, he's got a legitimate shot to make the 53-man roster. And once you're on the roster, once you're in the building every single day, opportunities happen, injuries happen, matchups change. All you need is one chance to show what you can do on offense, and suddenly, you're not just a special teams guy anymore. I'm telling you right now, Jordan Hudson is a name to watch, and if he balls out in the preseason, Cowboys fans are going to be hyped about this signing. Now let's talk about the big fellas up front, because Sidney Fuger, offensive lineman out of Baylor, might be the sneakiest signing of this entire undrafted class. Here's what you need to understand about the Dallas Cowboys and offensive line philosophy. This organization has built its identity for decades on controlling the line of scrimmage. They love finding big, physical, versatile linemen they can develop in-house. It doesn't matter if you're a first-round pick or an undrafted free agent. If you've got the size, the feet, and the mean streak, they're going to give you a real opportunity to develop. Fuger checks every single box. He's got the frame to play either guard or tackle. He's got enough movement skills to handle zone blocking concepts. And most importantly, he's coming from a Baylor program that's known for producing tough, physical offensive linemen. Is he going to start week 1? Almost definitely not. But the Cowboys roster strategy on the offensive line has always been about depth and development. They want 6, 7, 8 guys they can rotate, guys they can stash on the practice squad and bring up when injuries hit. Fuger fits that developmental mold perfectly, and in an organization that turned undrafted guys like La'el Collins into legitimate starters, you can never count out what this coaching staff can do with raw talent. I also want to give some shine to a couple other undrafted signings that might fly completely under the radar, but could make an impact. Tommy Dunn Jr., defensive tackle out of Kansas. This dude spent his entire college career getting better every single year and turned himself into a legitimate run stopper in the Big 12. Interior defensive line depth has been a point of emphasis for Dallas, especially with Dan Quinn gone and a new defensive coordinator installing his system. Dunn is a perfect practice squad candidate who could develop into rotational help down the line. And then there's Dominic Richardson, running back out of Tulsa, who rushed for over 1,000 yards in college and is walking into a backfield situation in Dallas that is absolutely wide open after the departure of Tony Pollard. If Richardson shows explosion in the preseason, if he proves he can pass protect and contribute on special teams, don't sleep on him sneaking onto the back end of this roster. Here's why all of this matters, and why I'm spending so much time on undrafted guys who most casual fans have never heard of. Championship teams aren't just built through the draft and big-name free agency signings. They're built through depth. They're built through finding hungry players in overlooked places who come in with something to prove. These undrafted guys don't have the luxury of guaranteed contracts or built-in roster spots. They have to earn it every single day. And that kind of energy, that kind of relentless hunger, it's contagious in a locker room. It pushes the veterans, it raises the standard across the entire roster. And for a Cowboys team that's faced questions about toughness and culture in recent years, this infusion of young, hungry talent could be exactly what shifts the mentality. But now let's flip the script completely, because while all these young guys are battling from the bottom up, there's a completely different conversation happening at the top of this roster, and it's one that could have massive implications for how this defense performs when the games actually matter. Right now, as we speak, the Dallas Cowboys are sitting at 89 players on their 90-man off-season roster. That means there is at least one spot, maybe even two if they utilize the International Player Pathway designation, still available. And with OTAs set to kick off in just a few weeks, the clock is absolutely ticking on this decision. This isn't something the front office can just ignore or push down the road. Roster decisions have to be made, and there are some seriously intriguing veteran free agents still sitting out there unsigned who could walk into this building and immediately upgrade the defense. Let me walk you through the names, and I want you to think about this from a strategic perspective because each one of these guys brings something different to the table. First, Bobby Wagner. Yes, I already know what some of you are thinking. He's 35 years old. He's not the same player he was 5 years ago. His best football is behind him. I hear all of that, and I'm not here to argue that Bobby Wagner is going to come in and be an all-pro middle linebacker again. That's not the role Dallas would be signing him for. But what Wagner still brings, even at this stage of his career, is elite-level football intelligence, championship pedigree, and a presence in the linebacker room that you simply cannot replicate. Think about the linebackers currently on this roster: Damon Clark is developing. DeMarvion Overshone is coming off an injury. Devin Harper is still trying to prove himself. Eric Kendricks was brought in during the offseason to add veteran stability. But Wagner is a completely different tier of leadership. This is a guy who's been to multiple Pro Bowls, who's played on championship-level defenses, who knows how to diagnose offenses pre-snap better than almost anyone in the league. Even if his coverage skills have declined and you have to rotate him out on passing downs, his value as a run defender and a locker room leader cannot be overstated. If the Cowboys are serious about making a Super Bowl run, having a voice like Wagner in that linebacker room could be the difference in critical moments. Then there's Jermaine Pratt, and I'll be straight with you. This isn't a flashy name that's going to get fans excited on social media. Pratt isn't going to sell jerseys. He's not going to dominate highlight reels. But you know what he is? Solid, dependable, professional. After a rough start to his career with the Raiders, Pratt went to Indianapolis and quietly played really good football. He's a quality run defender, he understands gap responsibilities, and he doesn't beat himself with mental mistakes. Sometimes that's exactly what a roster needs. Not every signing has to be a home run. Sometimes you just need a guy who's going to do his job, show up every day, and give you quality snaps when his number's called. Pratt fits that description perfectly, and in a linebacker room that still needs depth, bringing him in on a veteran minimum deal would be a low-risk move with legitimate upside. Now let's get into the cornerback conversation because this is where things get really spicy. Rasul Douglas is still unsigned, and that absolutely blows my mind. This is a guy with 93 career starts in the NFL. 93. He recorded 2 interceptions last season. He's played in big games, he's faced elite competition, and he's proven he can hold up on the outside. Right now, the competition for that second outside cornerback spot in Dallas is essentially a wide-open race between guys like Kobe Durant, Kalen Carson, and whoever else steps up in camp. So why not bring in Douglas and let him compete too? Make everyone earn it. The best man wins. More competition raises the floor of the entire position group, and if Douglas ends up being the best option, you just upgraded your defense without giving up draft capital or breaking the bank. If one of the younger guys beats him out, great. Now you know you've got a legitimate starter, and Douglas becomes your top-tier depth piece. Either way, it's a win. Then there's Adoree Jackson, and look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm excited about this possibility, because I'm not. We all remember what happened when CeeDee Lamb absolutely torched him. Cowboys fans have that memory burned into their brains. But here's the thing. The Cowboys already brought Jackson in for a workout earlier this offseason. That's a fact. So clearly the coaching staff sees something, or at the very least, they're doing their due diligence. The one advantage Jackson has is familiarity with the defensive scheme. He knows how the system works. He's played in it before, and in a depth role during the offseason when you're just trying to get through OTAs and training camp without major injuries, that kind of plug-and-play familiarity has value. Is he my top choice? Absolutely not. But if the Cowboys are looking for a low-cost veteran body to compete in camp, I understand the logic, even if I don't love it. And finally, Kenny Moore at nickel cornerback. This is the one that actually makes the most strategic sense to me when you think about roster construction and player development. The Cowboys are planning to use rookie Kalen Carson in the slot, and Carson absolutely has the talent to handle that role. But here's my question. Why limit him? Why lock a first-year player into one specific spot when he has the versatility and the skill set to play all over the secondary? Bringing in Kenny Moore, who spent 9 years in Indianapolis as one of the most consistent slot corners in the entire league, would give Carson the freedom to move around, to develop without pressure, and to maximize his potential without being pigeonholed into one role from day one. Now, I'll admit, there's a reason Indianapolis released Moore after nearly a decade together, and age plus injury concerns are legitimate red flags. But if he's healthy, if he can still move, that's the kind of veteran presence and slot expertise you just don't find sitting on the street in June. It's worth a workout at minimum, so here's where we are. The Cowboys have 1 open roster spot. They have 5 legitimate veteran options, each with different strengths and different fits. And they have a decision to make in the next few weeks before OTAs begin. My personal move? I'm bringing in Bobby Wagner for the leadership and the football IQ. I'm bringing in Kenny Moore if the medical checks out because I want to maximize Kalen Carson's development. And I'm absolutely kicking the tires on Rasul Douglas to heat up that outside cornerback competition. That's how I'd use the remaining roster flexibility. And I think any of those moves makes this defense measurably better without mortgaging the future. But here's what I want you to take away from all of this, because when you step back and look at the full picture, what the Cowboys are doing right now is actually really smart team building. On one side, you've got these hungry undrafted rookies like Michael Trigg, Jordan Hudson, and Sidney Fugger, kids who are fighting for their lives just to make a practice squad, who are going to bring relentless effort and energy every single day because they have no other choice. That mentality matters. That hunger is infectious. And on the other side, you've got proven veterans still available who can bring leadership, experience, and playoff-tested poise to a locker room that needs it. When you combine those two elements, young and hungry from the bottom, experienced and steady from the top, that's how you build a championship-caliber roster. That's how you create depth. That's how you survive the inevitable injuries and adversity that every team faces over a 17-game season. Are there still questions? Absolutely. There are always questions, but the direction this franchise is moving, the pieces they're putting in place, the balance between youth and experience, it all adds up to something real. This isn't a team that's sitting on its hands hoping things work out. This is an organization actively trying to maximize every single roster spot, every dollar of cap space, and every opportunity to get better. And as a Cowboys fan, that's all you can ask for. We'll see who they bring in for that final roster spot. We'll see which undrafted guys shock everyone and make the 53. But one thing is absolutely certain. This team is not standing still, and the next few weeks are going to tell us a lot about what kind of season we're in for. Cowboys Nation, if you made it this far, thank you for rocking with me. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We are grinding every single day to bring you the content you need, and we're pushing hard towards 16,000 subscribers. Hit that button, drop a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Let's ride.